Yeah, working. Are we working? Let's have a look. Right. Hello YouTube. I'm back again. Friday roundup. The roundups are going to probably be Friday night, Saturday morning now, because I'm counting everything. My week is running Saturday to Friday all inclusive, because that's when I came back out of hospital and when I can measure my figures. But first of all, you lovely people, we've got a poem. Unfortunately, I have got several poems that I am thinking of writing, and I'm just getting ideas together, so it's not an original. And yes, it's another John Cooper Clarke. We're going to exhaust his back catalogue over the next few weeks, more than likely, because the guy's a genius. Some of the poems are a little bit dated now because they're from the 1970s, but I still love them. And so now I'm going to do I Married a Monster from Outer Space. The Milky Way she walks around, all feet firmly off the ground. Two worlds collide, two worlds collide. Here comes my future bride. Give me a lift to a lunar base. I want to marry a monster from outer space. I fell in love with an alien being whose skin was jelly, whose teeth were green. She had big bug eyes and a death ray glare, feet like water wings, purple hair. I was over the moon, I asked her back to my place, then I married the monster from outer space. The days were numbered, the nights were spent in a rent-free furnished oxygen tent, when a cyborg chef served up moonbeams, done super rapid on a laser beam. I needed nutrition to keep up the pace when I married the monster from outer space. We walked out, tentacle in hand. You could sense that the earthlings would not understand. They go nudge nudge when we got off the bus, say it's extraterrestrial, not like us. It's bad enough with another race, but fuck me, a monster from outer space. In a cybernetic fit of rage, she pissed off to another age. She lives in 1999 with a new boyfriend, a blob of slime. Each time I see her translucent face, I remember the monster from outer space. Yeah. And have this week's figures gone into orbit? Pun. Not a very good pun. Anyway, never mind. Right, well, last week was my first full week back, obviously Saturday to Friday, and we did £2,059. This week, very similar figures, up a little tiny bit, but only a marginal amount. We're at 2,092 for the 7 days. 176 items sold, but there'll be a lot less transactions than that because quite a few will be multiple sales. We do sell multiples. Average item price of £11.88, which I'm happy with because we do a lot of low value stuff as well as the higher value. Now, when I was in hospital, April wasn't a bad month. I think we did about 8,500. I'm just going to have a sip. Not from the Fox News Cup of Life as the great crazy New York driver does, but from the Bavaria tin of alcohol-free beer, because I'm on warfarin and I'm not going to drink anymore. Maybe out the odd pint here and there, but the alcohol-free is okay, because I don't know if you realise that alcohol is a blood thinner, hence why lots of people who drink heavily end up with broken blood vessels all over the place on the nose and extremities as they drink heavier and heavier, and are prone to dying of internal bleeding, because it thins your blood, it raises your blood pressure, and thin blood going through a burst vein is going to bleed out really, really quick. Isn't that jolly, that, eh? A little bit of jolly news. So we're on the Bavaria. Now, before I start going through all the figures, like we've already said, Bavaria original. Now, I did have the Heineken Zero. I think they work out about 60-70 calories a tin, so you can't drink 10 tins of this a day. It'd be 700 of your calorie allowance, but 1 tin a day is not a big problem. It's got to be served cold. When it's cold, it's not bad, that. And there's no alcohol. So you can have a nice, refreshing lager with no alcohol. And I don't need alcohol, really. I mean, even when I used to drink heavy, I never really used to get drunk. Zero alcohol, I'd behave just the same whether I've had a drink or not. Right, so when I was in hospital, like I say, April was about £8.5 and it started slipping the beginning of May. Now there's always a slowdown in May anyway, so you know we've got to take that into account. But I've just looked at the previous 14 days versus the 14 days that I've just done. So the previous 14 days when I was in hospital, we did a grand total of 2,732, which equaled £195 a day. Since I've come out and we've been listing, I'm listing a lot of new stock, a lot of this sort of stuff's going on, you know, the old military stuff, loads of that going on, and other items. Takings have gone up to 4,141 for the 14 days, which is £295 a day. Now, our business has a magic number, and the magic number that we think all our problems will be solved, and you know we'll be getting a good income, everything will be established, is £500 a day. So we've got to do another £205 a day average. Now £500 a day, and we work on a 13 period month, we work on 28 day months rather than the calendar months, is 14,000 every 4 weeks. So 14k is the magic number. Yep, so that is 14k every 4 weeks, and a 13 period year, that would be a gross of 182,000 a year. Now, the last 14 days turnover of 4,141 at £295 a day equates to what we roughly did last year. So I think we did about 108,000 last year, and that equates to 107,000 and a bit of change. So £295 a day, when both of us are firing on all cylinders, was last year's total, really, average per day when you averaged it over the full year. Quiet months, good months, etc. So to get it up to £500 a day sounds and feels like a massive jump, but it's not as bad as I think. Oh, I didn't know. Have you noticed I had a haircut? It rains a lot round here. I've not really had it cut. It's just shrunk when I've gone out, but be alright, won't it? Sun's coming out soon, it'll grow again. Yeah, so £500 a day does sound an unrealistic target, but when I think that I started in 2014 August, so it's 5 years this August, God, if I was doing £30–40 a day when I first started, I was doing well, and to get up to £100 a day seemed unobtainable. That came and went, and then it was, you know, up to £200 a day, and that came and went. And last year we were virtually on £300 a day, and that's going to come and go as well. Now our stock level, we sell unique and really some items are really unique collector's items mainly. So obviously we have to gear our business up to how we're going to do £500 a day. Now our current stock level is 45,805 items listed. We've got a lot more in back stock. I mean, this is what I'm listing over the weekend. I've got about 5 or 6 bags like that, which Edward has kindly photographed for me before he went off for the weekend with his family. So we've got 45,805 items, and that's a retail value at the moment of 322,780. But that's immaterial. It's the number of items that we need to work out. So I've worked out that every Every pound earned, I've divided the 45,000 by the 295, and basically I need 155 listings on average with the current mix of stock that we've got now. I mean, obviously as we're going on now, the stock is getting better. You know, you're learning more as you go along, and we're targeting better stock, but we need on average 155 listings to earn £1 a day if you average it across the whole store. So I've worked out that we need 62,000 items to give us 500 a day average. Maybe a few more than that we might need, because sales could, you know, so even if we say 70,000 items, we've got a list, the thick end of 25,000 items, which is probably going to take us maybe a year. So 14,000 every 4 weeks sounds like a tremendous amount of money, but with increased turnover come increased costs. Now I've worked this out. Both me and Edward obviously want to draw a decent full-time wage out of this, and then also at the end of the year, because we'll be drawing money every month as a wage, at the end of the year anything that left over, that would be a dividend again, which we would probably be limited by then, so there'd be tax on that as well as the tax on earnings. So when I've worked out the cost on £182,000 a year turnover, based on the number of items we need to sell to do that, I've been writing down for hours here working this out. Not really, it took me about 10 minutes, but you know, I've got a brain injury, I need sympathy. Right, yeah, so as we were saying there, the costs, some costs stay the same, some costs are obviously going to go up from what we're paying now. The main fixed cost is a shop subscription of £5,745 a year. Yeah, that's how much I pay for an eBay shop. £480 a month thick end. eBay fees on £182,000 a year would be £21,840. So basically eBay would be getting 27,500 out of me altogether. Quite significant. Now drawings. On 14,000 every 4 weeks, I would anticipate that we would be drawing £2,000 a month between each. So the drawings would be 52,000. So that's obviously part of your profit, because that's your wages. So that's the 13-month periods, £2,000 a month each equals 52,000, £26,000 each. So this money's starting to add up, isn't it? PayPal fees. Now, I reckon that it'll be the transaction fees. There'll be 15,319 items sold a year approximately. Now some of those will be in multiples, but I've not worked this out as multiple orders because quite a lot of that will be. So this bill will actually be a little bit less than what I've calculated it at, probably quite a bit less actually. So the 20p transaction fee is £3,062 for the year. And then the 2.9%, which I'll probably be able to get a little bit better deal off them because I'm on the merchant rate. It might go down to 2.4% this, but the 2.9% tariff is another £5,278. VAT, now we're on the flat rate scheme, so it's just based on your turnover at 7.5%, is £13,650. God, these numbers. So here we are. This is the calculation. 182,000 minus 5,745 for the shop, 21,840 for the eBay, £52,000 for our wages, PayPal of 3,062 and 5,278. VAT of 13,650, and then we've got the postage. Now at the moment we spend about £1,000 a month on postage, so I've overestimated that up to £1,800 a month, which would be 23,400. So that adds there, with our wages and running costs, I've not got to cost of goods yet, we'll get to that in a minute. That's £124,975, but that gives us a £52,000 drawings, £26,000 each, which is a little bit less than the average wage, isn't it? But you know, we're working from home and we don't spend a lot, so that is fine. Yeah, so 124,975. Now to work out the stock, I roughly have a ratio of 5 to 1 on stock, so basically £200 spent on average turns into £1,000. So to do that money we're going to need to spend 36,400 on stock. That will be bearing in mind that we've already listed all the back stock and there's no back stock that owes us nothing. At the moment there is, but we'll be using that to build up to the level to do this, and I think we've got enough in stock, plus we've got cash in hand for more stock if we need it. So you add that to the 124,000 and suddenly you've got 161,375, which leaves £20,625 left. We've already paid ourselves. That would be the dividend at the end of the year. So that dividend would be £10,312 each, which would give us, before tax, the relevant taxes, because there'd be corporation tax and income tax on that, 36,312 each. So basically, if we can do 14,000 a month, the profit on the business is going to be £72,000 a year after all costs. And I've overestimated all the costs, I've not underestimated them to try and make it sound better. So I'm quite happy with that. It's just a case now of getting to that magic number. If I could click my fingers now and list this, all this back stock was listed just like that, we'd be doing it. I'm confident of that. I've worked my figures out from day one to now, and sales have gone up in the same ratio all the way through. We're buying better now as well. The stock that's coming in is of higher quality. A lot of the stuff that was listed last year that Edward listed on the postcards, some of them were brilliant. I mean, there was a lot of nice stuff in there, but there was a lot of mediocre stuff. But the mediocre stuff's selling now, and it will be replaced with better stock. There's certain things that I used to buy that I'm not going to buy anymore. You know, not cost effective. Like the tins over there. I mean, we've sold a few tins the last few weeks, but for the space they take up, they're not really worth us bothering with. If I see a nice tin, I mean, you know, when I had the Tommy Atkins that I got £350 for, and then I had the Starboard tobacco tin as well that I got £400 for. If I see something special, yeah, I'm obviously gonna buy it. I had a Huntley and Palmer's that did over £100 as well. So, you know, I've had 3 or 4, but I've had loads of £10 to £20 tins that take up that sort of space, and I can fit, you know, 100, 200 badges in there, or some other small item. So we've got our plan. It's all going to be smalls. There'll be the odd large item, but very, very few really. It's mainly going to be smalls. Anything that goes large letter or small parcel. So that'll keep the cost down there. We have a label printer now. I know a lot of you have asked me this, because I have a bad habit of handwriting envelopes and stuff. I've done it for years, but now we've got a label printer. It's on my son's PC behind me there, one of them Zebras. Now I don't know how to use this yet. He did show me, but it just went in one ear and out the other. He lost me at Control F, basically. I'm not very good with this sort of thing, but once I've had a bit of practice I'll use it. We need to sort out an online Royal Mail account because the postage is a lot cheaper, if we can. What else improvements have we made over there? So yeah, and we've got the air filters running. I don't know if you can hear it there. That's an air purifier, so that takes a lot of dust out of the air, and it also keeps it. It doesn't take moisture out, but it's mainly dust. Yeah, so we're printing the labels again, big time saving. Everything virtually now, apart from about 5% of the stock, is SKU'd, and it's all in labelled boxes, and then bags within the boxes, or for the small items. I can't show you, it's over there. We have the big massive divider boxes, big massive ones from the Plastic Box Company, and really good boxes actually from there. Really strong, a lot better than the crap that you get from Asda and places like that break if you just look at them. These are really tough boxes, and they have, how many pods have they got in them? Those 4, 8, 12, 6. They have 24 sections, 4x4 or 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, and they're really solid. There's no interchangeable. They're just solid, and you can put like 20 or 30 badges in each one, or 20-30 small items of silver in each one. So the storage is sorted. I think we're going to do it. It's just going to take time. Now, to a lot of you, I'm not showing off with what we want to take. It's just what we need, really. I want to give my son a decent standard of living. I want to have a decent standard of living myself. I don't want to be relying on borrowing money off PayPal for stock, for the big purchases. I want to get away from all of that, and be self-sufficient. And obviously I want to pay a decent amount of tax into our country, because I hate to think what my bill would have been on private healthcare for what I've just had done. Yeah, it just needs. It's one of those things. I think that people who try and avoid the tax, really, it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a short-sighted way of looking at things, because this country is a big machine, and machines need fuel, and the fuel that this country needs to run is money, and they get their money from 2 places, 3 places, maybe 4 places. But I can think of the taxation system, all the various taxation systems, trade tariffs, and the Crown estates, which I've been very proud this week watching the Queen. I think she's marvellous for her age. I don't think she's really put much of her foot wrong in the job that she's done for all these years, and it's nice to have a figurehead, and I'm proud that we have a royal family. And a lot of people go on about the cost of the royal family, but you need to look back in history. The Crown estates in this country used to belong to the royal family, and that is a massive business. They signed over most of the Crown estates in, I think it was in the Georgian period, was it? I think it was sometime in the Georgian period. I may be wrong on that. And they signed them over, I think around George IV's time, to get what is known as the civil list now, where they get paid an allowance to run their households and what have you. They still have certain Crown estates. I think the Duchy of Cornwall is Prince Charles's, where he gets his income from, and I think they may still have the Duchy of Lancaster. But the shopping centres, everything on the seabed, there's the list of things that are owned by the Crown estates is phenomenal, and that goes straight into government coffers. So the money that the royal family get paid out is only money that they would have been entitled to anyway by the Crown estates. And the money that she brings into this country, the politicians that she's had to deal with over the years, the presidents of the United States of America that she's seen come and go, the great people she's met, and dealt with, Winston Churchill and many others. I think she's done a great job, and I think that she did a great job this week. And I know it might not be popular with most people, but I think Trump did a decent job this week. I think he conveyed himself pretty well. I mean, you've got to remember, this guy's not a politician. He's a businessman. And sometimes it's better off to have a businessman in charge of a country than a politician who says the right things, but it's what he's not saying that you've got to worry about. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but yeah, I thought it was a good week. I thought some of the protests were a little bit out of order. I thought some of the things that happened were a little bit in bad taste, really. I mean, with the British people, we don't take anything lying down. We do protest, but there is a way to protest. And these modern day protests now, by people who seem to have an opinion but don't have any facts to back up that opinion, they're just quoting sound bites that the media have said, which quite often when you investigate them don't have a lot of truth. Suddenly, you know, if you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, and that happens quite a lot with our media and 24-hour media reporting now. You know, it's getting beyond a joke, really. And I noticed that a lot of YouTube accounts have been closed down in the last week, a lot of the political accounts, which is sad. A lot of people have been demonetised. I mean, you know, it's just getting a little bit out of hand, but hopefully this will change in the future. Mainly I just listen to YouTube while I'm working, and to me the business is the main thing. I'm not really a political person, but I do like to know before I have an argument that I've got some facts behind me. And I think this whole Brexit / Donald Trump in America / the royal family being useless according to some people has got out of hand, and I think it's time that this country reset itself and remembered what British values are about. We're a country that's always progressed. We've led the world in many things, in inventions, in industry, in finance. You know, we've got a lot to be proud of in this country. Let's not do ourselves down. We've got a fantastic country full of fantastic people. There's no need to look on the negative side of it. We can quite easily survive without Europe. I firmly believe that. There's no need to worry about that. Again, if you look at it as a business, all economies are basically a business, and the European Union relies on Great Britain for its exports. I mean, you only have to look at the cars driven down the streets in this country. BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, Volkswagens, Skodas, Seats, Renaults, Peugeots. There's a lot of cars that are not built in this country that are being driven on our roads. So consequently, we buy more from Europe than we sell to Europe. So all this deal, no deal, to me, is a load of rubbish, because at the end of the day, the customer is always right, and we are their customer to a large extent. They buy off us, but we buy off them. So a deal is always going to be favourable at the end, because basically they'd be crapping on their own doorstep, wouldn't they? If we suddenly said, oh, okay, then we're going to put a tariff on you, then if you put a tariff on us. So I think there will be a free trade deal, or a very, very favourable trade deal. It looks like we're going to do a decent trade deal with the United States, who are one of our biggest investors, and we invest in them as well quite heavily. So hopefully the future's bright. I don't think all this doom and gloom about a recession is needed at the moment. Borrowing at the moment's a little bit high. That does concern me. Not government borrowing, because government borrowing always exists, and most governments tend to borrow off people in their own country, insurance companies and stuff like that, and people who buy and sell, buy bonds and what have you. So the debt, the government debt isn't worrying me, but I think personal debt could be getting up there, where if there's an interest rate rise, some of the population could be in trouble. But that's enough of my twisted logic on economics, finance and politics. All I want to say is this week, 75th anniversary year of D-Day, and when I saw those soldiers on the TV, I was really proud to see how these men had risked everything and they were still upbeat about it 75 years later. They'd got on with their lives. Yes, it had affected them, but you know, the only one thing I can do is salute those guys. Unbelievable. We probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for men like that. And yeah, that's me signing off. Little bit of a random rambler. But shall we just do a little haiku? Now this is a haiku. It's a Japanese poem, 17 syllables. And John Cooper Clarke is a big fan of the haiku, and he wrote one, 17 syllables. To convey one's mood in 17 syllables is very difficult. See you later. Bye 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 bye.